24,000 years ago, the world is trying to kill you. The temperature has plummeted 9 degrees below anything modern humans have ever experienced. Glaciers the size of continents are grinding across North America and Europe, swallowing everything in their path. The wind cuts through you like a blade. One night, exposed without shelter, and you die. One failed hunt, and your family starves. This is the last glacial maximum, the coldest period Earth has seen in hundreds of thousands of years, and you are standing right in the middle of it. The Neanderthals are already gone. These were robust, cold-adapted humans who dominated Europe for hundreds of thousands of years. They had bigger brains, thicker bones, and bodies built for ice. They should have outlasted everyone. But they vanished around 40,000 years ago, along with nearly every other human species on the planet. Only one lineage survives. Yours, Homo sapiens. The question is why? What do you have that they did not? The first problem is obvious. The cold itself. Not a chill, not uncomfortable weather. Brutal, relentless, bone-deep cold that will kill you in hours if you cannot defeat it. Early humans migrating north around 45,000 years ago draped animal hides over their bodies. It worked, barely, but as the ice intensified, that approach stopped being enough. Loose skins let heat escape. Wind found every gap. Survival demanded something better. Then someone in southern Siberia invented the eyed needle. This tiny sliver of bone, no bigger than your finger, changed everything. Before the eyed needle, humans punched holes in hides with pointed bones, then threaded sinew through in separate motions. Clumsy, slow, the stitches were rough and loose. The eyed needle combined piercing and threading into one fluid action. Suddenly, humans could create tight, precise seams. They could build fitted, tailored clothing that actually conformed to the body. Layered garments trapped pockets of air against the skin. Air was an insulator. The more you can trap, the less heat you lose. Archaeological sites in Wyoming reveal that Ice Age hunters crafted needles from the bones of foxes, rabbits, lynx, and even the now extinct American cheetah. The clothing they produced rivaled the complex garments later worn by the Inuit, complete with insulating furs and careful construction designed to seal out temperatures that should have been insurvivable. This was not comfort. This was engineering for survival. At Cameron Grubgraben in Austria, archaeologists uncovered dozens of eyed bone needles dating to the peak of the last glacial maximum. The same site contained reindeer skulls with antlers still attached, proving these animals were hunted specifically in winter. Why winter? Because winter pelts are thicker. The fur is denser. The skin is more waterproof. These hunters were not opportunists grabbing whatever they could find. They were strategists targeting specific animals at specific times for maximum insulation value. They understood their environment at a level that turned prey into protection. But clothing only solves half the problem. You still need somewhere to sleep, somewhere the wind cannot reach you, somewhere a fire can burn without being extinguished. Ice Age humans found depressions in cliff faces and transformed them into fortresses against the cold. They draped animal hides from natural overhangs to block the wind. Inside, they constructed tent-like structures from wooden poles lashed together and covered in sewn skins. At the center of every shelter burned a hearth. The fire did not just provide warmth. The rock walls reflected heat and light back into the living space, multiplying its effect. These were not crude camps thrown together in desperation. They were engineered survival habitats built by people who understood thermodynamics before the word existed. During brief summers, hunters moved into the open steppes stretching from the Atlantic coast of Europe to Siberia. There, they built something even more extraordinary, dome-shaped huts partially dug into the earth, framed with mammoth bones and covered with sod or hides. Some of these mammoth bone structures were occupied for months at a time. These bones came from animals that could crush you without effort. Woolly mammoths stood 14 feet tall and weighed 10 tons. Their tusks stretched 9 feet long. Their blood contained antifreeze, like proteins, that helped them survive temperatures that would kill almost any other large mammal. Saber-toothed cats like Smilodon had muscular builds designed for ambush and massive curved canines capable of puncturing thick hides. Giant ground sloths reached 12 feet in height. Dire wolves hunted in coordinated packs. taking down prey far larger than themselves. Early humans lived alongside all of them. They competed with them for food, they hunted them, and sometimes they were hunted by them. So, how did relatively fragile humans not just coexist with these giants, but eventually dominate them? The answer is the brain. Not just intelligence in some abstract sense, the ability to plan, to anticipate danger before it arrives, to think strategically across time. Anthropologist Brian Fagan argues that the most important advantage Homo sapiens possessed was foresight. Neanderthals were smart, they made tools, they cared for their injured, but evidence suggests they lived more reactively, responding to their environment moment by moment. Homo sapiens did something different. They anticipated. They prepared for winters that had not arrived. They planned hunts, seasons in advance. They thought about problems before those problems became fatal. This is where art becomes survival. The cave paintings at Lascaux and Chauvet in France are not just beautiful, they're textbooks. Modern wildlife biologists can look at those paintings and determine what season is depicted based on the animals' coats and postures. These ancient artists understood animal behavior so intimately that their knowledge encoded in pigment remains scientifically accurate 20,000 years later. Through art, music, dance, and ritual, critical information about seasons, migrations, edible plants, and weather patterns was passed down across generations. Culture was not entertainment, it was survival education compressed into forms that could be remembered and transmitted. Technology advanced alongside understanding. During the Upper Paleolithic period, humans developed the burin, a stone tool used to carve precise grooves into bone and antler. This allowed the production of lightweight spearheads, detachable harpoons, and interchangeable weapon components. A broken point no longer meant a ruined weapon. You could simply replace the damaged piece and keep hunting. This was modular technology. Early humans invented the concept of interchangeable parts tens of thousands of years before the Industrial Revolution. But even the best weapons meant close-range confrontation with animals that could kill you instantly. So humans added strategy. In eastern France, Ice Age hunters set fires each fall and spring alongside predictable migration routes. The flames funneled herds of horses and reindeer into narrow valleys where escape was impossible. Trapped animals could be killed efficiently with minimal risk. Archaeological evidence shows this coordinated strategy was repeated at the same locations for thousands of years. Generation after generation returning to the same killing grounds, using the same techniques, because they worked. This was not luck. This was institutional knowledge, preserved and perfected across millennia. None of this would have been possible without language. By the Ice Age, Homo sapiens possessed complex spoken language. Language allowed knowledge to be shared beyond what any individual could learn through experience. It allowed cooperation between strangers. It allowed the formation of social bonds that extended beyond immediate family groups. Shared identity meant larger communities. Larger communities meant more hunters, more defenders, more minds working on the same problems. Cooperation was not optional. It was the difference between survival and extinction. When the Ice Age finally ended, most megafauna species vanished. The mammoths, the saber-toothed cats, the giant sloths, the dire wolves. Scientific consensus points to the climate change as the primary driver. As glaciers retreated, habitats that had supported these massive animals for millions of years shrank and fragmented. Human hunting likely accelerated the decline, but the warming world had already destabilized the ecosystems these creatures depended on. Humans adapted. Genetic research published in Nature shows that Ice Age hunter-gatherers in Europe retreated to warmer refuges in Spain and Portugal during the coldest periods. When the climate warmed around 15,000 years ago, these groups repopulated the continent. They did not merely survive, they responded to the changing conditions and expanded. This is the pattern that defines our species. Unlike specialized animals locked into narrow ecological niches, Homo sapiens were generalists. They ate whatever was available, they invented tools to solve whatever problems they faced, they adjusted their behavior to match any environment. When conditions changed, they changed with them. Our ancestors did not survive the last glacial maximum through luck or physical toughness. They survived through innovation, cooperation, and the uniquely human ability to think beyond the present moment. They invented technology that defeated the cold, They built shelters that turned hostile landscapes into livable spaces. They developed hunting strategies that minimized risk and maximized reward. They created cultural systems that preserved knowledge across generations. They worked together in ways no other species on Earth could match. When the ice retreated, Homo sapiens did not just emerge as survivors, they emerged as the only human species left standing. They emerged ready to build civilizations, reshape continents, and eventually reach beyond the planet itself. Every challenge they faced during those brutal millennia made them stronger, smarter, more adaptable. The Ice Age did not break humanity. It forged us.